Well, welcome everybody to the Catholic Schools Guide Ignite Forum. This is the final forum of our series for the year. Absolutely thrilled to have an all-star cast with us today. We've got Brendan Schneider all the way from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. G'day, Brendan. How are you?
Hi, Greg. Glad to be here.
Fantastic, mate. We've got Michael O'Keefe from, well, a bit closer to home. He's in Melbourne, Victoria. Hi, Michael. How are you going?
Yeah, very, very well. Thanks,
Hopefully
Greg.
the audio's okay. And on the other side of America, in California, San Francisco, I've got my brother in arms, Anthony Campitelli. Hi, Anthony. How are you?
Hey, Greg. I'm good, thanks. A much more respectable hour than Brendan, so I'm good.
Yeah, I think it's coming up to 10 or 11 o'clock at night. Brendan swears he doesn't have a gin and tonic in his drink. It's a Diet Coke, but I'm not altogether convinced. Hope everyone's got their cup of tea, hot cup of tea as I've got mine. And we're going to do a nice, crisp 90-minute session. There will be time for Q&A. You can do a chat message. I might get Anthony just to run over some housekeeping matters about raising a hand and sending us a chat message, if you wouldn't mind, Anthony, to tell those folks who might be a bit new to Zoom.
Yes, well, thanks, Greg. You know, we're proud to be sponsors of this forum. We like to do it. We're doing it once every term, and I think it's a great way to get some good professional development background for a lot of marketers when it comes for schools when it comes to marketing, I should say. So if you've got a question, you've got two options. You've got the Q&A button down the bottom of your screen, and you've got a chat message that you can click on. And so either Greg or I or Brendan or Michael will be able to see those various messages as you send them, or you should have a way to raise your hand. If you raise your hand, Greg or I will be able to see that, and we'll be able to unmute your microphone. You can actually ask a question, and we'll do that definitely at the end. So during the session, I encourage you to sort of queue up your questions, the things that you're thinking about you want to ask, and then either ask them in the chat or the Q&A, or make a note and then ask them at the end. And either Brendan, Michael, Greg, or myself will be glad to chime in with our opinions and let you know what we think.
All right, thanks, Anthony. I might just do a screen share here and we'll get underway, and I'll just bring that up for you for the moment. And here we go. And just let me know, if you wouldn't mind, Anthony, if you can see that screen okay.
Oh, good, Greg. We see
Thank you, sir.
Hit presentation. Now we're good. Yep.
Thank you. So welcome to Ignite Your Digital World. Couldn't be happier to have none other than Brendan Schneider leading the talk today, who's one of the most highly regarded speakers in North America. So we're very chuffed to have him share his pearls of wisdom in Australia, and then Michael to do a bit of a spotlight and share with us what's happening at Loyola College. There's our panel. Brendan, Michael and Anthony, you've met them. Let's keep soldiering right on because time is of the essence. Firstly, I do have to pause and slow down and thank our sponsors. So bear with me, please, because it's terribly important, because these things happen because of sponsorship. Inquiry Tracker are about capturing every precious lead and turning future families into those raving fans. Vex Robotics provide educational robotics for the school sector, spanning all levels of education. Australian Catholic Superannuation Fund do exactly what it says, superannuation for employees. Of course, so we have Mountain Shades, all about making compliant outdoor shades, marquees and gazebos. Lemonade Stand is this online program for kids in schools about problem solving and turning ideas into action. We've got Nexia Australia, who are accountants and auditors for over 120 Catholic schools and independent schools around Australia. EduHealth Solutions work with schools to have a happy and sustainable culture for their students and staff. Many of you, of course, know Australian Catholics Magazine, who also have a whole online resource program for teachers in RE. McKillop Family Services do extraordinary things to help create and sustain a safe school culture for wellbeing and where learning can flourish. Light FM, Melbourne's positive radio station. Bob Stewart supplied many uniforms to many schools across Victoria and Australia. Elicon, who print Catholic Schools Guide, for me, are the best printers in Australia going around. And now we've just been joined more recently by ASI Solutions, which is an Australian-owned ICT provider to the education sector for over 3 decades. And they really introduce innovative IT solutions within the pedagogical space. EdVal, which many of you have heard of, are experts in the art of school timetabling, and they have a really powerful algorithms that really sets their products apart. And finally, Integrate AV, welcome, provides all your learning spaces, interactive technologies, as well as integrating all your audio visual requirements. So if you're thinking about using a product or a supplier, we would obviously echo that these would at least be in the short list of consideration. Catholic Schools Guide is what I'm very proud about. We've been publishing and producing Catholic Schools Guide for the last 12 years. Very chuffed to have brought that to you all. We have two types. We've got the print magazine that really is for the Greater Melbourne, Greater Brisbane and Greater Sydney. We're printing over about 100,000 copies across those 3 editions. Reaches about 2,500 destinations. It's free to the end user. It's got this 12-month lifespan, and it's delivered straight into the hands of our target audience, which is really good. There's also, of course, not only with the print, that we have the online digital space as well. And some of the figures you can see there, schools get a full page feature listing, unlimited open day and tour promotion, annual analytics reports, direct parent inquiries, and in 5.2 million Google searches in 2019, which is not a bad result, I don't think. In terms of what a page looks like, I would always encourage you to visit catholicschoolsguide.com.au, because every secondary school in Australia, Catholic, should be listed for free on our website. And at the moment, you might have a humble listing, which is the free listing. What you're seeing on the left-hand side is an advanced feature listing. And there's a couple of special announcements I can make about that, because the 2021 edition is about champions of change, because we always like to have a different theme in our magazine, and it lasts the entire year. And instead of to get away from motherhood statements, next year's theme is about, how are we creating change? And let's face it, COVID has been the greatest change disruptor that we've had to cope with. I'm sure Brendan and Michael and Anthony will share some thoughts around that. And finally, we do have a special print offer. If you're in Melbourne, Sydney and Brisbane and are eligible to go in the print edition, we're basically giving you a free upgrade as our COVID offer from our base package to our premium package, which is over $1,000 worth of savings, just to help and say thank you to schools. If you're in regional Australia, or in South Australia, Western Australia, Tasmania, etc., Northern Territory, regional Queensland, regional Victoria, regional New South Wales, you can't actually access the print editions. So what we're doing to help you under COVID is give you a free full-page listing that was for 2020. We've got a bit of an announcement. We're actually extending it for all of 2021. So if you want a free full-page featured listing, that costs me money and you nothing. So please take advantage of it. Go to the website, send us an email and let us know. It's our way of saying thanks and giving back and helping schools in these difficult times. Anthony, I'm going to throw to you because I think you've got a bit of an announcement about Inquiry Tracker.
Hey, Greg, thanks very much. That seems like a really good offer that you guys are putting together for the Catholic schools across the country. So that's
Thank
awesome.
you.
Yeah, I wanted to basically, first of all, say thanks for letting us be a sponsor for this, because I think it's a really valuable program that you're offering all the Catholic schools across the country. So I'm hoping that they can get a lot of value out of it, and I know that they will. But I did want to make an announcement today. So if you could just skip ahead one more slide, because we do know that, we've been working with hundreds of schools right now, and we know that we've got hundreds of thousands of students loaded into our system in Inquiry Track. And we know that all your lead sources come through open days, like, tours, even if they're virtual or on-site, general inquiries, personal tours, or if they're making a prospectus or a view book request, right? But the next key phase is you need them to be able to do an online application, right? And that's what we're proud to announce here today, that we are rolling out a new online application module as part of Inquiry Tracker. So it's not only about just, managing events or following up on a website inquiry, it's processing applications. So our philosophy is to make sure it's easy to capture leads and engage your prospects, be able to easily communicate with them, amaze them by sending automated personalized emails and have ambassador programs at events, but then process applications online and enroll them. So we know that most of your leads are going to come through tours. We know that, right? And we know that the goal is from a tour, you want to get them to do an application. So that's the next big thing. So Greg, this is the first time we're actually saying anything about this at all. And it's going to be coming out in December of this year. And of course, I'll talk about what we're going to have a special offer for your audience at the end of this presentation.
That's fantastic. Great news, Anthony. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. It's great that Inquiry Tracker has been sponsoring these forums. Really chuffed, of course, and great news about the online application form. And I'm sure that that's going to be a really popular product for not only Catholic schools, but all schools across Australia New Zealand and America, because I know that that's the 3 countries that Inquiry Tracker is sold within. So now let's introduce Brendan Schneider. Brendan, I'm just going to stop sharing my screen and say a warm hello and a warm welcome to you, and hand the conch over to your trusted abilities. Brendan is sitting in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I've been there. It's an absolutely beautiful place of the world, and where Brendan teaches at this. Brendan's based at this beautiful academy called Silwickey Academy, rather, and it's a beautiful school, and he's got a lot to share and a lot to learn, and he's very generous. He's got so many credits to his name, I can't even list them all, but he is a founder of this extraordinary society in America called the Marcom Society. He runs an annual virtual conference which people can join, and I know it was only on last Saturday our time, and it was an incredibly successful event which Anthony participated in, and it was a much admired event. So Brendan, over to you, and I'll start keeping quiet, which I'm sure that everyone will be more than grateful for.
Greg, thank you so much. Anthony, Michael, good to see you guys. So let me share my screen. Let me share that. Can you see my screen?
Absolutely, yes. Good man.
And then let me go to this. Do you see it large now? Brilliant. Thank you, guys. So we're going to jump in. So as you've seen already, so again, Greg, thanks for inviting me. I'm really excited to be here. Even though it's late, this is Coke Zero. I'm hitting caffeine to get going for tonight. So let's jump in. This is the sign you've been looking for. And that sign is for you to think about using inbound marketing at your school. So before we get too deep, I want to talk or share 3 themes for today or tonight or this morning, wherever you are. The first is the Apple effect. You might not know, but Apple has never been the first to market for anything. They're always second or third. They take a great idea, they iterate, they make it their own. So what I hope you do today is you take the ideas that I'm going to share, you copy them, steal them, make them your own, and be like Apple. The second theme today is marketing technology, inbound marketing, marketing automation is like a foreign language. And not unlike a foreign language, it can be a little overwhelming, but you just have to learn the vocabulary and the concepts, and things will start to fall into place. So don't get too stressed about that. If you do get stressed, though, I give you permission. You have permission to be overwhelmed. We're going to go fast. We're going to go through a lot of stuff. I'll make sure that Greg has a copy of this slide deck that he can share if you'd like. And then if you have follow-up questions, we'll go through those. We've talked about questions. Hit the chat, hit the Q&A, raise your hand. I want to make sure that you feel comfortable after the presentation. The other thing is if you're thinking about an idea and you're nervous or embarrassed to ask the question, please do ask it, because if you have it, my guess is there are at least 4 or 5 other people that do. So why should you think about inbound marketing? You should think about it because of these brands. And the reason is that these brands are raising the level of customer service and sophistication for our families. Let me give you 2 examples. This is an old example that I have, and you might have experienced this, but I was looking for Dansko clogs years ago on Zappos. I put them in my shopping cart, and then I left. Something happened. My family needed me, or I got busy, whatever. But I left it in my cart. A few days later, I got an email from Zappos. Don't miss out. You searched for these. Did you forget something? So again, a level of marketing sophistication. The other is this article from the New York Times. Now, I don't put this up here because I want to talk about the Common Core in China, or I want to talk about the New York Times. I put this up here because of that ad to the right, Edgar. Edgar is a social media tool that I had been researching, and I didn't buy. And then I left. And what happens is these are called remarketing ads. So these ads follow you around. I don't know if you've ever experienced that. Highly effective. But again, a level of sophistication that your families are feeling that our schools are not up to that level. And I think there's a disconnect there, that's problematic and something I want you to think about. So we're going to talk about a lot of things today. But before we really jump in, I'd like to tell you my story. This is Silwickey Academy. This is where I work. Greg and Anthony have been there. They were just great guys to come visit when they were in the States. We had a great chat. But this is my school. And I have been at Silwickey this is my 13th school year now. We're a pre-K through 12 day school. So everybody lives relatively close. We don't have any boarding. And what 13 means is that I started in 2008-9. And if you remember, that was the global economic crash, signified by this. And if you look at this all the way over on the right-hand side, you see on the bottom is the years. You go into 08 and you see a huge dip. And for us, as really the rest of the world, it was problematic. But it really became acute because every Friday in our admission office, and I had been the director of admission and financial aid at the time, we track our inquiries, our applications, and our visits every Friday. And we have 5 years of data going back. So we know exactly where we are, good or bad, and we have to figure out what we're going to do. When this happened, our inquiries, our applications, and our visits were about a 1 month trailing average to the stock market. So they dipped hard and everybody freaked out. What were we going to do? Well, the first thing that we decided upon was to do, and this sign here is actually one of our campaigns. We ran through traditional outbound marketing methods. We'll talk about that outbound, inbound in a second. But we ran to traditional outbound marketing methods that we hadn't used in the past. Billboards. This was one of the images. You know those placards at the airport with the signs there? We did those.
Yeah,
we
I know
did
those
super. What, Greg?
We know all those ones. Yeah, the placards,
Yeah, we did.
The back of bus shelters and God knows what. Yep, plenty of those ones.
Well, we would have tried those too, Greg, but there were no shelters by us. But we ran to all this stuff that we hadn't tried in the past. And the problem is that they were super expensive. If I was really no way to measure. So we had no idea whether our return on that investment was worth it. And most importantly, our inquiries, our applications, and our visits didn't change. They were still down and still following the market. So we thought, what's the next step? Well, the next step for us was social media was really starting to blow up. And we thought if we jump to Facebook and then if we launch our Twitter account, we would have hundreds of mission appropriate, full pay families beating down our doors. I'm laughing now, and you should be too, because all we got was this. Got some phone numbers, I got some likes, got some email, even a free drink, Greg, but I didn't get inquiries, applications, and visits. And here's what I can tell you. Social media by itself will not help your enrollment efforts. I've tried. I've screwed it up. Social media as part of an inbound marketing methodology or strategy can be very effective. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Now, there should be something in your brain this is where it all starts. A search for schools starts here. But you should be saying, Brendan, what about those, we call them cocktail conversations, or when the parents, I call it the parking lot mafia, when they come to pick kids up. I don't know if you have something equivalent in Australia, but
yeah, no, we
what
do,
happens?
Brendan. I think you're right. The car park gossip or the water cooler conversations now really occurring, online as well. Not only in the streets, but it occurs online.
Exactly, and people should be saying, well, what about those? And I would say those are absolutely critically important. Most of our interest really does come from word of mouth. But I think in this day and age, what's the second thing, or I would argue, what's the second thing a family does? They go to Google and they check you out. So if you don't show up, if you don't have the information there, particularly the answers to their questions, you're in big trouble. So if you take nothing from my talk today, take this book. This is called, as you can see, Inbound Marketing, and there's the subtitle. This is written by the founders of HubSpot, Brian Halligan and Dharmesh Shah. Now, I just want to make a little clarification about HubSpot. We use HubSpot. We're huge fans, but I need everyone to understand you do not have to have HubSpot to do inbound marketing. All HubSpot is software that helps you do it. So when we started this whole journey, we did not use the software. And the other thing is this book, you don't have to use the software to learn from this book. So what is inbound marketing? Inbound marketing is about using marketing to bring potential customers to you rather than having your marketing efforts fight for their attention. Let's unpack that a little bit. traditional marketing, sometimes called interruption marketing, sometimes called outbound marketing, really it interrupts your pleasure. So a print ad interrupts your viewing pleasure. A radio ad interrupts your listening pleasure. A television ad, you see on and on and on. The problem with that is that two things. One, people don't pay attention anymore. And two, there are technologies that exist that remove those things. So, I can't remember the last time I watched live television besides sports. We DVR it and skip all the commercials, or I have satellite radio, so I don't hear commercials. So that's why traditional outbound interruption marketing is starting to wane in its effectiveness. Conversely, inbound marketing is about drawing families to you. So often you'll see inbound marketing represented with a magnet. So we're drawing families to you. And the way you do that is through the internet. So if they go to Google, and again, as I talk about search engines, it could be Bing, it could be Yahoo, but Google's the big dog. So if I go to Google, I type that in, and you need to be found. So just a little aside here as we talk about the traditional enrollment funnel. This is, again, I'm sure everybody's seen this that works at a school and is in charge of enrollment. Prospects, inquiries, applicants, admits. And by the way, I'm sorry, these are all English spellings, Greg. So I don't, if you see that, I apologize. I know they're wrong.
All good. That's all good. The inquiry debate is one that rages around the world. But I have my own views. But anyway, we'll keep going.
I know. I just saw that and I thought, oh, God, I messed that up. So anyways, that's the American spelling. So anyways, traditional enrollment funnel. And I would argue that the traditional enrollment funnel is dead. And here's why it's dead, for these two reasons. The first is that the traditional funnel, now again, the funnel works. So that's the process. It's thinking about enrollment in that way that doesn't work. So let me break it down. The first is that funnel signifies an end. So it's like all of a sudden we've done all this work, the child's in our school, and then it's over. Now, I think in Australia, you guys do continuous enrollment.
Yeah,
is that correct? Once you're in, you're in?
That would be so. We do continuous enrollment for most schools, although most schools, Brendan, still have a core intake year. If they're a K to 13, K to 12 school, it would be K and maybe in year 7. It would be not uncommon, but they are also allowed to do continuous enrollment in other year levels and throughout the year.
Okay. The problem in the States is that we haven't been enlightened to have continuous enrollment. They're starting to do it more, but every year we're sending an enrollment contract and getting it back. So that funnel, which signifies the end, isn't good. So we joke it's really tongue in cheek, in our offices that it's easier to re-enroll a student than to enroll a student. So we work really hard to keep those parents happy and to keep them coming back every year.
Oh, so Brendan, so you have to actually do a re-enrollment contract annually you were referring to?
We do, yeah.
Yeah, well, in Australia, that doesn't exist. So you enroll your child and they're presumed enrolled for the entire journey, if that makes sense.
See, that's so much better. And that's, oh my gosh. Like I said, we're not enlightened yet. We're trying very hard and we'll get there. And I can say it, hopefully after this next presidential election, that will start. We'll go back up. So we'll see. The other thing about the enrollment funnel is the ghost, and it's the rise of the ghost inquiry. So I didn't make up that term, but I like it a lot. And what that means is that the first time you learn about a family is when they submit an application at your school. So you get the inquiry and the application at the same time. And you might think, well, geez, that's awesome. And it is awesome. The problem is, what about all those families that researched your school and decided not to apply? That scares me because you lost them. And the other piece is, what about all those families, again, researched your school and applied, researched your school and didn't apply, but you didn't have a voice in that conversation. You didn't have an opportunity to talk to those families. That scares me as well. That's why I came up with a concept called the enrollment rings. The idea is that you move from outside to inside. Got to make people aware of your school, get them interested, get them to apply, get them to enroll, re-enroll, although that's something more for the States. They become alumni and then they can become an evangelist. The black bar really just signifies that someone can become an evangelist at any time in this process. So a quick example I give is that if we have a student in grade 4 and they're going to re-enroll in our school, but mom gets a fantastic job by Anthony on the other side of the country, they're going to move. They're not going to re-enroll in our school because they're going to stay together, but they can still be an evangelist to our school. So, and we've had families move and say good things about us, and then when other families move to our area, look at our school. So it works in that way. And then here's the big question. How are we going to attract families to us? And the punchline is inbound marketing. So let's start talking about that. There are 5 steps to inbound marketing, and here they are: persona, keywords, SEO, which is search engine optimization, content, and social media. And we're going to break each of these down. The first is personas. So what is a persona? A persona is a semi-fictional representation of your ideal customer based on market research and real data about your existing customers. So if you decide after, well, for me it's tonight, for you it's in the afternoon, that you don't want to do any inbound marketing, that's fine. But I would take this, use personas. Think about your prospective families, identify them. I can learn from our mistakes. The first time we did persona work, we spent way too much time, gathered way too much data, and just wasted a lot of time. And what you want to do is find out about your families, and all you care about is actionable data. So what do I mean by that? We had done some research and used some external tools, and somebody said, I don't know if you're familiar with the magazine Town and Country. I don't even know if they publish it anymore.
We know Town and Country.
Yeah. So one of the things that came back to us said that our families read Town and Country, and I'm like, so what? That wasn't actionable for us because we're not going to advertise in Town and Country. So again, find actionable data. Here's an example. Here's one of our personas. Ann Ramsey. Ann does not exist. We made her up. But everything that I do in searching or trying to attract this persona, I think of Ann. She's a first-generation independent school family, meaning her or her spouse did not go to an independent school. Both mom and dad work because they need to afford our tuition. Her child is in lower school. So for us, grades pre-K through 5. Their pain point, because you want to solve their problems, before care and after care. They need to get to work early. So what do they do with their children? And they can't, we're typically done at 3:10 every day. They can't get to our school by 3:10, so they need aftercare. Transportation is an issue. And then that last one is they're looking for partnership. They value education. They're making the sacrifice to send their child to our school, but they also feel a little guilty because they can't be more involved in that. So what kind of partnership can we have between the school and the parent? So we have this one persona. Your school might end up having multiple personas. So this is a persona we have for lower school, or as Greg was talking about, different entry points. We have a persona for parents that are looking for pre-K and K. We have a persona for middle school and a persona for high school because we have entries all along. So that's persona. The second is keywords. So a keyword is that word that you type into Google and to get found. Now, it could be one word. More than likely, it's going to be a phrase. So the phrase that we like to use is Pittsburgh Private School. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a list. And we'll talk about the list. Well, we're going to create a list very simply. Open up a Google Sheet, open up Excel, 3 columns. And we'll talk about what those columns will contain. But here's the one thing I want you to understand. We all suffer from the curse of knowledge. Again, another great book, Chip and Dan Heath. We all suffer from the curse of knowledge. The basic understanding here, and you can read that, is that we in schools know the words. We know the vernacular. We understand what's going on. Think about that persona I just shared, Ann Ramsey. She's never been to independent school. And here's the example. At least in the States, I work at an independent school. We have our governing body is the National Association of Independent Schools. Ann Ramsey, if you asked her what kind of school we are, she would call it a private school. She doesn't understand that it's an independent school, not till she gets there. So as you make your list, and we're going to talk about that right now, make sure you're aware of that curse of knowledge, because those words that you identify matter. So here are the 3 columns. The first is create a list, suffering from the curse of knowledge. So Pittsburgh Independent School. And think about all those words that you would type into Google and you would expect your school to show up. Okay. The second list you make is not suffering from the curse of knowledge. So it could just be a switch of one word. So Pittsburgh Independent School becomes Pittsburgh Private School. So that's all the second column. The third column is some sort of targeting. Do you have a signature program? Are you known for something? Is your school serve a special clientele? So what would those words be? Do you have a special sport or a special art program? What are those words? Let's just say, what's the big game coming up? Is it rugby? Let's say is it rugby, Greg?
There's 2 big, there's a rugby, there's a league grand final and an AFL football grand final. And these are often used interchangeable words, but I think a lot of the schools, you're right, Brendan, a lot of schools have flagship programs, and there's a lot to shout about, STEM programs, robotics programs, coding programs, maybe a social justice program that they could speak about. Yeah. You're right, drill down on those specialist programs that you offer. Yeah, absolutely agree.
Well, and especially since we're talking to Catholic schools, faith schools, I mean, you need to use that as well. What would be again, what are the words, what are the phrases typing into Google that you want your school to show up? And then most importantly, and we'll talk about in a sec, if your school doesn't show up in the top 3 results, that's where you want to be. If you don't show up in the top 3 results, you're in trouble. If you don't show up on the first page, you might as well not exist. Think about your own search habits. I can't remember the last time I went to page 2 in Google. So something to think about. So those are the 3 words. And then again, you're going to choose your words. And then what do we do with these things? The third thing is search engine optimization, SEO. So let's talk about that. Search engine optimization is really a function. This is, again, high level stuff, but it's a function of 3 things: relevance, authority, and social signals. I'll give you examples using our main keyword, Pittsburgh Private Schools. So is the search relevant? So if somebody typed in Pittsburgh Private Investigator and my school, Sewickley Academy, showed up, well, it's Pittsburgh, it's private, but we're not an investigator. So what's going to happen is our school is going to show up on the SERP, the search engine results page. You're going to see Sewickley Academy. Nobody's going to click on it because it's not a relevant search. Like, we're not an investigator. So Google's going to notice that. They're going to start to drop us in the rankings. On the other hand, if somebody types in Pittsburgh Private School and my school shows up, people are going to start to click on it. At least that's the hope. And then Google will recognize that as a relevant search, and they will keep us up in the rankings. The second thing is authority. Authority is simply, these are very complicated things, but simply measured by the number of inbound links that your website gets. So let's say, for example, my website, so my school website, Sewickley Academy, gets an inbound link from my blog. So that's an inbound link, right? So Google is going to see that. And basically what that is it's, in a way, kind of the internet's word of mouth. My blog linking to Sewickley Academy is saying, yeah, you're okay. So that's kind of the premise. It's also, they also look at something called weight, or it's like importance. So in my school website, an inbound link to my school website for my blog does not carry as much weight as an inbound link from the New York Times. Much more important, much bigger readership. It's a much bigger deal. So that's authority. And then the final piece is social signals. Inbound links from social media, talking about social media, schools talking about us on social media, shares that we have on social media. So the reason for my haziness in a lot of this is that Google closely guards this algorithm because they don't want anybody to game it. People have pretty good ideas, but last I heard, there are at a major level, over 200 different data points that they use in their rankings. But these three things are the high level for search engine optimization. And then how do you affect search engine optimization? Well, let me back up too, just to say what search engine optimization does. It allows you to rank better, higher in a search. So for example, this was so sad. When we started with inbound marketing, my school is Sewickley Academy in Sewickley, Pennsylvania. We're 12 miles northwest of the city of Pittsburgh. We're a Pittsburgh private school, but we never talked about Pittsburgh, crazily enough. So if you typed in Pittsburgh private school when we first started, we didn't show up on the first page. We didn't show up on the second page. I didn't even go to the third page. I just cried. So what search engine optimization does is it allows you through two ways, we'll talk about them high level, go higher in that rankings so that we can go from I'm being kind, page 3, to page 1. That's what search engine optimization does. There are really two ways to do search engine optimization. The first is on page. So on page, there are things, and I put the code up. It's a little geeky. It's not terribly hard, but it's a little geeky. So title tags. So if you go to your Chrome browser and up in the browser tab, you see a title. You can change those titles. That will affect SEO. Words that you put on the page. If you know HTML, header tags, which basically just format text in a certain way, putting your desired term like Pittsburgh private school in a header tag makes a difference. So there's on-page information, and then there's off-page things that you can do. And the off-page stuff flows right into content. It's content that you create. So and again, I put this up just to kind of drive it home. The building blocks of inbound marketing are content. And I can tell you from experience that inbound marketing works. It's successful. There's one negative. The negative is that inbound marketing needs fuel, like an engine, and that fuel is content. So you're going to have to, if you commit to it, you're going to have to commit to creating new content on a consistent rotating basis. I put this slide in here because content can take many forms. It could be the written word, which is what we're going to talk about, a blog. It could be a video. It could be audio. It could be just pictures. So lots of different forms of content. Here's an article from one of our blogs that we did a few years ago. And again, I don't want to go into the topic of it, but 19 book recommendations for elementary school children. This was not like, what does this have to do with Sewickley Academy, right? We're not selling ourselves, because ultimately you have to understand, at least in that awareness stage, it's not about the school. It's not about me. It's about my parent. It's about Ann Ramsey. Remember we talked about Ann Ramsey with pain points and partnership, and she has no time. 19 book recommendations for elementary school children. So we actually created this around the holidays one year and sent this out to everybody in our database just to say, hey, we know you're busy. We had current teachers at the time recommend their favorite books and sent it out if you're looking for that last minute holiday gift.
Hey, Brendan, that's a really lovely idea. And Anthony, I know, was just sending a message to the group that people really love lists, top 10. I'm intrigued by the 19. You've got me thinking, and I think that's probably deliberate because I'm thinking, how come there's not 20? And guess what? I'm looking more closely at the whole list, aren't I? So what was the thinking around the 19?
You know what? I'm going to sound so pedestrian here, Greg. I only got 19 responses to my email.
I love that, Brendan. It's a brutal honesty, isn't it? It's fantastic.
Yeah, I wish I had a better reason. It was we wrote to all of our faculty, and these were the 19 responses, so that's all we could do. So
isn't that wonderful? I love it.
I wish I had a better answer. So again, we can talk about blog, if you want to, but this is the blog, but here's the piece that people miss a lot. So this is the top half of the blog. This is the bottom half. There's the 19. Here's the piece that so many people miss with blogs is that bottom bar there, which is a call to action. If your school is blogging, if you don't have a call to action there, you're kind of missing the point. And a call to action could be, and we'll talk about this in a second, it could be sign up for open day. It could be inquire. It could be just do something. You got to have the call to action there. So this is, and again, in terms of, remember my first slide, the Apple effect. Take the blog post and get it out for the holidays. Steal that idea. This is another one we did. I call these inquiry magnets. 27 questions to help you evaluate a school for your child. Again, we created this, with Ann Ramsey in mind. Again, her and her partner work. They don't have time. They value education. They need to evaluate schools. What are they going to do? This is 3 pages long. It's a PDF. I paid somebody $5 to do this on Fiverr to create, it looks more significant in this format. Now, that doesn't mean that the information contained in our PDF is not valuable. We think it's super valuable. We have 27 questions that we sat down, we work through, and we think they're applicable so that if Anthony in San Francisco downloads this guide, it would work for him in San Francisco. Now, the reality is we've loaded a few questions in there that highlight our strengths. But if they were asked in San Francisco, they would still be applicable. So that is awareness and interest. And I was really excited to see, by the way, Anthony, congratulations on the application. That's super exciting. So you get Inquiry Tracker, you're going to get an application, or moving from interest to application. How do you do that? Again, another piece of content. You do that through lead nurturing emails. And I know Inquiry Tracker has this as well. And what lead nurturing emails are, I can let you look at this, but here's the idea. I'll let you look real fast. And I realized I was reading the slides and I hate that. So I won't read them anymore and we'll keep them for later. But here's what lead nurturing emails are. It's taking a set of predefined emails that you've written, and sending them to your prospective families at a certain schedule, in order, each email has a call to action, moving them down the pipeline. So moving them from interest, or let's say, as we were, you guys were talking, moving them from open day to application to enrollment. And this allows you to use technology or leverage technology to do more. This is a caveat. I talked about inbound marketing and content, which is something. Here's the other thing. Inbound marketing, again, it works, but it's not a magic bullet for enrollment. Inbound marketing really affects one thing, and that's inquiries. It will increase, if done properly, it will increase your inquiries. The application to acceptance, or inquiry to acceptance, is a function of your admission office process. And I'll give you a little example of what we do next. So moving them down that pipeline is a function of your admission office follow-up and how you treat those families. And then, at least in the States, once a child is accepted, that acceptance to enrollment has nothing to do with inbound marketing. In the US, the 2 biggest barriers to entry are cost and transportation. There are a slew of other factors for each family, of course. That still remains the same today. But just wanted to put that out there. But here's an example of follow-up that we do in our admission office for every prospective family that comes through. And again, Apple effect. Take this, steal this, make it your own. Because I know your system, you have open days and then moving them along is a little different. But here's what this is. Day 0 is the inquiry. So when that comes in, our admission assistant gets them into the system and then gets the inquiry packet out within 24 hours. The top, which is the gray, is contact from a person. The bottom, which is red, is automation. Those are lead nurturing emails. So these days, and that's what these numbers signify. Might be a little tight for you, but let me walk you through it. Day 0 is the inquiry. Day 2, depending on what happens, and we have a couple different workflows. Day 2, we actually send them the 27 questions guide to help them, evaluate the school for your child. So we say, print it out and start answering the questions, look through it. Day 5, somebody from the admission office calls the family. I haven't been in the admission office for 6 years now, and I can recite the script. And it's on voicemail, because I don't know about you guys, nobody picks up the phone anymore, but it's just something simple. Hi, Greg. Sorry I missed you. This is Brendan Schneider, Director of Admission and Financial Aid from Swickley Academy. Just wanted to make sure you got the inquiry packet that we sent, or application packet. Wanted to see if you had any questions, and I wanted to invite you to campus for a personal tour. Give me a call when you get a chance, and we'll get that scheduled. Click, something like that.
That's fantastic.
Day 7. Oh, go ahead, Greg. Go ahead.
No, it's great. It's great. I love the sequence of the balanced sequence. And of course, in Australia or in your context, you can stretch out these days. The numbers don't have to be the days that you apply to. You can make these your own.
Yes.
And I love that difference between the cadence of the automated emails in red and the human contact in black. But please, I interrupt. Keep going, Brendan. It's great.
No. Thank you, because these are days we use. To be quite honest, we don't use this timing anymore. So Greg, thanks for bringing that up. So this is where we started. Day 2 was an email. Day 5 was a phone call. Nobody picks up the phone. I left a voicemail. Day 7 was another email. Here's what we do. The 27 questions we send to you, which was day 2. Day 7, I send you another email with all the answers to the 27 questions. So I would say, dear Greg, if you haven't had a chance to look at the 27 questions, here's a copy of it. But I also want you to know we've answered all the questions for you for Swickley Academy. So again, remember I talked about that ghost inquiry, not having a voice in the conversation, not being able to put our best foot forward. That's how we do it. Day 10, we follow up with a personal email. Day 13, and here we go. And the reason I have that day 15 split, I don't know if you guys do this in Australia. We not employ, we don't pay them, they're volunteers. We use current parents, we call them parent ambassadors, to call families. Again, we really want to protect our volunteers. They're giving up time. It's really important. So I don't want a volunteer to call somebody that hasn't, what I call, given a heartbeat back to me, meaning they've done the initial inquiry, but maybe they then saw the tuition and they were like, this isn't working, or they saw that we didn't support their child, or whatever it may be. So they're not interested anymore. I don't want a parent ambassador to call that family. So if I call the family and they don't call me back, if I email the family and they don't email me back, we then make them cold, which means we don't give them a parent ambassador. We don't spend any more human time on them. And I'm okay with that, because there are automated emails that they're getting. So they're getting touches from my school all along. And if at any moment they decide, you know what, I'm interested again, once they reach out, we'll put them back in the process. If somebody has gotten back to me, so let's say I've called Greg and we've talked on the phone and he's really excited, I then would have a parent ambassador call Greg, because I know he's excited, and it's going to be a good experience for our current family and hopefully a great experience for the prospective family.
I think the observation I just jump in and make, Brennan, and I'm speaking about a sector rather than any one school in particular. I think in Australia, the context would not be as structured as the Swickley experience. It would be a little bit more ad hoc and a little bit more unstructured. But I think the big takeaway here, guys, it can be structured. Make the physical human contact a sequence that's structured and set out, and the automated emails a sequence and structured and set out. It doesn't have to be as many as Brendan is suggesting.
Yes.
But the point being, get a bit more structure in the routine. Yeah.
100%. And Greg, that also reminds me, don't compare where you are now with what I'm sharing here.
Yeah.
Because when we started, we were a far cry. What I want you to do is compare where we were 10 years ago, which I can't show you, but in a lot of ways, it was a hot mess. Yeah. So Greg's point, even if you have, here's the high level thing for me. I want every prospective family that goes through our process to have the same consistent process.
Nice.
And hear the same consistent things. Greg's point. Let's say you're only going to give them one email and one phone call, and that's fine. Just make sure it's the same thing. So every family has that experience. This is just after years of experience, of trial and error, of making mistakes. Yeah.
Cool.
So the whole part of this is to get them to know, like, and trust you, feel good about you, and then again, hopefully get them into your school. So let's talk about social media. And again, like I said, social media by itself isn't going to help your enrollment efforts. Social media as part of this will help. So this is another great book, Joe Pulizzi. I will read this one, then I'm going to unpack it. In social media marketing, the center of gravity, which is the focus of the marketing activity, is located within the social networks themselves. In contrast, the center of gravity for content marketing is a brand website. So content marketing, again, this is foreign language. Content marketing and inbound marketing are very similar, used synonymously. So that's what he's talking about here. So here's his basic idea. When we post on social, and we'll talk, there's one other way, but we think of two ways of posting on social. The first, which is content marketing. So the center of gravity is the brand website, like this Ferris wheel. Let's say that the social media channels are outside, and then we have spokes going into the center hub. The center hub is our website or our blog. And the reason we're doing that, so we're going to, like, I'm posting something on Facebook and I'm trying to get them to our website or our blog because that's where I can convert them. That's where I can get their email address. That's where I can get them to sign up for open day. That's where I can get them to inquire, apply, etc. You can't do that on the social channels. So the center of gravity is the website or blog. Conversely, and by the way, I think of this kind of social media posting as recruitment. Okay. Conversely, in let's go back. In social media marketing, the center of gravity is located within the social networks themselves. So let's say that the social network is this beautiful park bench in the fall. I'm going to get them on the bench and I'm going to keep them on the bench. So the example is Facebook. I'm going to post something on Facebook about our school, and I just want them to stay there and enjoy it and soak it all up. We think of that as retention, right? So that we're trying to keep them at our school, keep them saying great things about us. The other way that we think about, I know I just told you the funnel's dead and I bring this up, but this is a common marketing thing, so we can't get away from it. There's the awareness and interest, and when people talk about the bottom of funnel, which is the apply. So when we think about social media posting, I'm also going to think about, am I posting something for people that have no idea about us? I want to post stuff that's for people that have a sense of us, and I want to post stuff for people that are ready to make that commitment, apply, attend open day, inquire, etc. So again, here it is. Before you post, ask these 3 questions. Now, oh, by the way, you don't have to do this for every post. We don't. I don't want you to think we're machines or we're perfect. We screw up all the time. I just say this is like the pinnacle. We have never been there, but it still doesn't mean we don't try to stay focused, because what I want you to do is not use social media as a scrapbook. I don't want you to just start posting photos. Oh, I'm doing social media. No, you're not. Have a bit of a strategy. Even if it's just a baby step, like Greg was talking about, just have a baby step strategy, and that'll start to put you down the path. So here are before you post, ask these questions. Am I trying to recruit them or retain them? Again, recruit means I'm driving them back to the website or the blog to convert. Or am I retaining them? I'm just posting them on the social channel. I just want to say good things about the school, and I want them to react. Think about the marketing funnel. Am I trying to get them aware? Are they already interested? I want to hook them in, or do I want them to apply? This 75-25-1 rule. This is, Greg, you'll love this one. I made this up. So tweak it as you want. But here's how we think about posting. 75% of the time, post stuff about your school. Of course, right? This is why people come to our channels. But 25% of the time, try to post stuff related to your school. Become that resource. Again, I'm thinking about Ann Ramsey. They're looking for partnership. We're trying to solve her pain points. I want our Facebook page, and I'm going to talk about Facebook here, as a resource. So what do I mean by that? Post the weather, post activities that are happening at the local public library that are free. Post we have pumpkin festivals around here where everybody goes to buy their pumpkins and ride in hay stocks or whatever. Post about those events so that a family can go to your school's page and see what's going on in the community. The other one is an interaction. Have some sort of interaction on the channel every day. Like a post, if it's Twitter, retweet a post, comment on something. But again, don't forget the whole point of social media. It's social. It's not just blasting out. And again, a lot of these things are very apropos to a content calendar. So do we have a beautiful, designed, elegant content calendar? Heck no. But we try to have one. You could, here again, baby steps. Starting next week, and then just do this for the rest of term. Every Monday, you're going to post some video. Well, here, and I'll go. Oh, let me go here. Well, okay. Anyways, let me finish this thought. Every Monday, you're going to post a video. Every Wednesday, you're going to post a photo. Every Thursday, you're going to post a throwback Thursday, whatever that may be. And then every Friday, you're going to ask a question because you want engagement. That's it. There's your content calendar. You can do it. Anybody can do that. So again, another great book, Jab, 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 Right Hook. I bring this up. Gary Vaynerchuk is a brash, loud New Yorker, but he's really good. And I enjoyed this book. But here's why I bring this up. Schools are so bad at the right hook. So again, Gary's a boxing aficionado. Jab, 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 right hook. Give, give, sell. Now, in school, we're not selling per se, but what we do is the sell is making that ask. We give. Don't forget to, on social, register for open day, inquire, download our guide, apply now. Don't forget to make that ask. Schools screw this up all the time. We do too. But if you're constantly reminded about that, you just have to do that. So we're winding down here, but a couple more things. Facebook, obviously, for us, Facebook is the big dog. If you're not there, you need to be there, and I'd spend a lot of time here. All media types. Again, I've been saying this for years, and we still struggle to do it consistently. Video is king. You can upload video. You can use live video. I also think it's really, really great. Where's my phone? These are amazing. The technology of this phone is amazing. Here's a little tip. Hold your phone horizontally. Put your hand here. Here's your tripod. Some of you guys remember that movie Blair Witch when they were like this?
Yeah,
all that craziness?
Yep.
Yeah. Just hold this. Go out and shoot a 30-second video. Put it up raw. Let people see the reality of your school through this. Manufacturer engagement. So let's talk about the algorithm. Facebook says, well, Facebook doesn't tell you this, but other people will say, if you have 1,000 fans and you post a picture to Facebook, 3 to 5% of the people will see that post. Just 3 to 5. That's barely anybody. Well, the big reason is Facebook wants you to pay, but we're not going to talk about that. So what you have to do is you have to work the algorithm. And the way you do that is that you try to drive engagement. So what happens, the premise is this. If somebody engages with your posts on Facebook, they're going to start to see your posts more frequently. So ask a question. Who is your favorite teacher? I don't know. We did it at the beginning. What's your favorite flavor of ice cream? Ask fun things like that. Do fill in the blanks. Do contests. Do voting. I don't know if you guys have seen, when Facebook released, what do they have? The thumb and the smiley face and the heart and all that, right? So say, do you like, so what's the big game? Cats and who's the other one?
And the Tigers.
Tigers. Here you go. So I need somebody to post it and send it to me. I want you to vote. Who's going to win, the cats or the tigers? Cats is a thumb, tigers is a heart. Again, it's fun, but there's actually a purpose to it. Because those people are interacting with your school's posts, their Facebook recognizes that and then will start showing your school's posts more frequently to them. It's now, again, it's not just one interaction, but they'll start to see a pattern. So you want to manufacture engagement and then posting regularly. I would suggest that you need to post once a day. So what that means is that you're going to do a little planning and you're going to schedule. Nobody's going to sit there every day and do this, but it's okay to schedule. And if you say, to yourself, hey, I can't post once a day, get a consistent schedule. This is a little melodramatic, but get a consistent schedule that you can keep for life. So because Facebook wants to see consistency. So if you say, I can only post Monday, Wednesday, Friday, that's it. That's fine. Just make sure you're posting Monday, Wednesday, Friday. A lot of times, and I don't run our channel anymore, but a lot of times what I would do is I would sit down either Monday morning or even on the weekend. I would just sit down, get my post, schedule it out, and then I wouldn't have to worry about it all week. And then I could just do organic stuff. Talking about Instagram, because that's the other big one. For us, we think about retention. We think about retention because, as you know, you only have one link. Unless you pay, you only have one link, which is in the bio. So it's really hard to get a person, think of that Ferris wheel. It's really hard to get a person from the social channel back to your web or your blog. So we think of retention. Again, manufacture engagement, questions, fill in the blanks, contest voting. Again, comments, likes, reshares rule. That's really what you want. Same rule about posting consistently. Keep consistent for life, suggest once a day. Again, back to that one link that you have in the bio. I don't know if you guys have seen these. We use Linktree. So it's actually spelled like this. This is not a misspelling. That's the web address, linktr.ee. You can go, you can sign up for free. We have it branded so you can see it there. It's Linktree/Sewickley Academy. So if you click on that, it takes you to a page where you have some control and you can have multiple links. So we would have our big blog, our most recent blog post, register for open day, apply now. We use it. So we do, fundraising in the States. We have day of giving, give to school, make a donation, stuff like that. So that's Instagram. And I'm going to take a breath. Questions. That's what I've got.
Hey, Brendan, that's awesome stuff there. You got my mind spinning on some of those different topics that you brought up. I loved a lot of the inbound topics. I loved all those little tips that you shared. And of course, being a marketer myself, the whole strategy by inbound marketing, where the jab, right hook, where you educate, then offer something. Like it's a soft, It's not like the hard sell. It's like education marketing, which is all about, hey, I'm here to tell you something that you may not know. This is what it's like to go to our school. This is what it's like to send your child to a co-educational school or a faith-based school or whatever. And here's the 10 things you should know. And you educate. Oh, and the soft sell is, by the way, would you like to come to a tour? So that analogy I thought was really good. And schools need to be really good at doing the ask, not just doing the give, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And then there's one, let me see if I have it. Again, I love to read. Sorry. This is a great book by Jay Baer.
I noticed the backdrop behind you. It's obvious you like to read.
Yeah, it is. And what you can't tell is most of these are all my cookbooks. So I like to cook. It's one of my things. So these are all my cookbooks. And I don't know if anybody else, during COVID, I started sourdough bread baking because I was home all the time. But anyways, this is a great book by Jay Baer, Utility, Why Smart Marketing is About Help, Not Hype. So Andy, this is exactly what you're talking about. Be helpful for your families. It's not about your school. It's about the family and how you can help them.
So true.
That is so true. What we might do is perhaps Brendan, I wouldn't mind bringing in Michael at this point, if that's okay.
Yeah.
And then what I want to do is introduce Michael O'Keefe. Michael O'Keefe is a director out at Loyola College in Victoria, Brendan. And they've gone from sort of zero in the sort of social media space and starting to ignite it over the last 12 to 18 months. I'm sure making a few mistakes, Michael, and we'd just like to share your thoughts, your story around, perhaps what you're doing on Facebook and Instagram, and, just share us in that social media space that Brendan was just walking us through. And maybe Anthony and Brendan, and feel free to give Michael some feedback or your thoughts, and then we'll do some Q&A from the audience in a moment. Get your questions ready. We're going to end on the bottom of the hour. So it's 2:06. We've got another 25 minutes. Michael will walk us through for 10 minutes or so, and then we'll do some Q&A. Over to you, Michael, if you would like to share your screen.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much, Greg, and thanks to everyone for jumping on today. I thought it would be beneficial for us to have a bit of a look here at what social media looks like in a Catholic school, and a real life example and a real new example, I guess. And I hope everyone can see my screen now.
Yeah, we can, Michael, just to let everyone know, Loyola College, if you could just tell us a little bit about, how old it is, and co-ed or single sex or year levels, etc.
Loyola College is a co-educational Catholic school in the northeastern suburbs of Melbourne. We're in Watsonia, which is about 20 kilometres away from the city. So lucky for us here in Melbourne, we're allowed to travel 25. So I could go to the city if I'd like at the moment. We've got next year we'll have 1,410 students who come mainly from our feeder primary schools, but they are spread wide across the northeastern suburbs. We're about 40 years old, 40 this year, and the fees are around $8,000 a year. So,
and Michael, it's 7 to 12, year 7 to 12?
It is a 7 to 12 school. And it's a Jesuit school, though not run by Jesuit priests, but we are certainly part of the Jesuit network. We're about 160 staff, 100 teaching staff and 60 support staff, and middle socioeconomic and just above the median sort of study scores at year 12. So just that little middle of the road school, and has done very well for itself over the last 40 years. And my role is really interesting because I'm actually a teacher, so I'm not a marketing expert, and I've got a quite broad portfolio, but part of that is community engagement. So I have a team of people, but again, none of them are marketers either. In fact, they're administrators, and we've sort of over the last few years trying to get our head around this space. So we were very late to the social media scene. In fact, 2017, I think I went and had a look, was the first time that we launched any social media platforms. And then we've really limped through it until probably the last 12 months when we've really lifted our game. And a lot of the things that Brendan has said, we've started to implement, and you might see that as I tell our journey. But there's our sort of major areas that we're on. So Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn and Instagram, and YouTube as well. And I'll talk about now what I think is the platforms that are working best with schools. Because remember, as we've talked about a little bit very early on, we sell our product once for one family that lasts generally for 6 years. We don't have too many families drop off over time. So the platforms are quite different for a different purpose. So Brendan mentioned there Facebook, and for future parents and your current parents, that is king, because that's the platform they're most likely going to be on. Certainly our parents, that's the platform they're most likely to be on. And you'll pick up some wider community there as well. But that's the content that's most engaged with for schools. Instagram is all about the students, your current students. That's where they will be most likely. And you'll get a few parents for sure. But it's your current students and that will love following you on Instagram. Of course, their platforms at the moment are Instagram and TikTok. There may be some schools at the moment that are here that are on TikTok, and well done for taking the plunge. We haven't gone that far yet, but whether it's a phase or not, we'll find out. Twitter. Twitter for me is about boasting to other schools and other education organisations on what you're doing. It's not really about your current clientele. The students are definitely not on there. Only a few of your parents are probably going to be following you on LinkedIn. Of course, it would depend on your demographic. You know, the inner Eastern Catholic schools here in Melbourne, maybe more of their parents are on LinkedIn, on Twitter. But certainly for us, it's really just to boast what we're doing with other schools and other education organisations. LinkedIn, you're going to get your alumni. You're going to get staff from other schools following you, teachers, to find out, whether they maybe want to make a move to your school or they're just stealing ideas that's happening. And then YouTube's a bit of a mixed audience. The subscriber base there is difficult to build. Even some of the biggest schools here in Melbourne that have huge followings on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn still have a very small YouTube subscription. And really for us, that's a vehicle just to share video content across the other platforms, particularly Instagram only allowed 60 seconds before it moves into other parts of Instagram. So it's a great platform just to get your video content out there. What works best? Well, content about students works best. And here's just two examples from this year. And I deliberately chose the one there on the left because it doesn't actually include a picture of a student. It is of our hall set up for our big general achievement test, which all year 12s and any VCE students at year 10 or 11 take. And it's got not one student in it, but you could see the engagement is double to the one on the right, which was about an online forum that we were hosting. So because that content on the left was about students, you could see there the engagement, the reach, the comments, the sharing was huge compared to something about an event. Both very important posts, but anytime we post about students, photos of students, about students, or student work, the engagement goes through the roof. Really interesting. And Brendan beautifully spoke about this. It's not a scrapbook, I think he said. It's not a scrapbook. So we don't post everything that your school's doing. Don't post too often. And we are a 1 post per day school, or probably 5 out of 7, not always on the weekend. Our weakest engagement days are Friday nights and Saturday nights. So sometimes I put content there on a Friday night or a Saturday night that maybe is not as important for people to see. Maybe we've run a campaign, like for example, we've got a trivia night coming up. So we're hitting some people up about that trivia night. We don't want to overdo it. So, I might hide that on a Friday, Saturday night in the middle of the campaign about getting people to come to our trivia night, because it doesn't matter if it doesn't get as many engagements. Post at the right time on the right platform is certainly, as I said, so if you want to get to your current student base, then Instagram's where you're going to go. You're not probably going to pick up as many future families on there. Even current parents, you're not going to get there. So now there are some schools here that I don't think are doing this right. So for example, over on LinkedIn, they're going bananas with everything. Like anything they post anywhere else, they put it on LinkedIn. Now, as a link, I'm big on LinkedIn. I don't need to see what students are doing on LinkedIn. I more want to know what the school's doing for their staff and the future of that school, and whether I want to work there or whether I want to steal a bit of an idea on what they're doing. I don't really need to see what year 7 drama we're doing last week on LinkedIn. So you've got to know your right audience and who's there. And you can use software to help you. So there's lots of software out there that will help you, as we talked about, a schedule for your posts. And you can set up all your posts on a Monday morning for the entire week.
Actually, Michael, that was one of the questions that came as a pre-advanced question to the webinar today from Queensland, I think it was. You know, that those sort of software, was there programs that can help sort of centralize all your posts, like a dashboard almost, that you could have all your social media feeds coming off one dashboard. Again, the danger, of course, is not doing exactly what you just said, is don't post the same thing on every platform. But are there some centralized tools that you use, or Brendan or Anthony, that you're aware of that you can share with your knowledge about sort of a centralized resource?
Yeah, well, we use one called Sked Social. It's all one word, SKED. And the reason we choose that, it's not very expensive. And Brendan might talk about some others, because there are some really expensive ones out there that are probably more for the corporate world. But the real benefit of it is it allows you to schedule Instagram, because Instagram does not allow you to schedule within its own app, which Facebook does. Now, the downside of the software is sometimes they don't have as many features as within the apps. And so sometimes I still use the apps. And sometimes they have to be on your phone. You know, Instagram's phone app is stronger than its desktop app when it comes to posting. But the Sked Social for us, and there are a few others out there, and I'll let the others comment, really can save you a lot of time. And yeah, we certainly, very rarely do I post the same thing on all 4 platforms. It's probably 2 out of the 4 get the same thing each time. What are other people using that are out there?
And any thoughts from you about, I know that a lot of people, I think Shannon's just stolen thunder there, Hootsuite is very popular. Brendan, any recommendations from you?
Yeah, I saw somebody just post to the Creator Studio. So Facebook's doing a lot recently with their the Creator Studio's gotten better. They just changed their Facebook Pages app to they call it Business Center or something. I have seen Sked Social, Michael, very cool. Hootsuite. Quite frankly, there are a lot. I mean, Sprout Social.
Yeah, I think
is a good one. I used to use Sprout Social, and then it just got a little too expensive for what we wanted to do. And then honestly, most recently we've been using HubSpot has social scheduling built in, so we were using that.
Back to you, Michael.
And it will evolve. This will evolve. So on the left-hand side, they are our first 9 posts to Instagram. And you'll notice that they are, you know, the majority of them are quite beautiful photos. They have filters on them. There's a bit of artwork there from one of our students. And we were really trying to keep Instagram as pure as it could be in those early days. But then we realized it's all about our students. Like, they're the ones following it more than anyone else. And they're probably not overly fussed about how beautiful a photo is of our school. So you can see in the middle there, we start to really showcase our students. And I'm going to talk about some of the mistakes we've made in a moment, but, you know, we start to have more pictures of our students and what they're doing. And then over on the right-hand side, that's sort of, you're getting a bit of a mix there of reposting of something from Melbourne Uni, and then a nice photo, and then some content that the students have put together, and some photos in class. And so it has evolved over time. You know, one thing we haven't got right yet is the branding. So you can see there that there's some branding in the middle, so some consistency in like a bit of a swoosh and some photos. But then on the right-hand side, on the bottom middle, is some different branding, again, the bottom left and middle. And it's not amazing, to be honest. And that's some work during remote learning. And then we've got a video there. And of course, on Instagram, the video, you can't really choose what your hero picture is, or what the template or thumbnail will look like. So if your video starts black with a fade in, that's what you get on Instagram.
Right.
So we're still making mistakes even to now about getting it right. And that's because we don't have a full-time marketing person who knows how to use this stuff really, really well. So we're just doing the best as we can. So you'll see it does evolve, and you'll need to move with it depending on who your audience is and why you're posting. So these are my tips and takeaways, and I think we've covered a lot of these today already. But you need to know your audience. So are you posting to attract future parents? And we know, and Schools Guide and Inquiry Tracker have done some great research on what the number one way you get future families, and that is word of mouth is number one, right? So, but word of mouth is mostly coming from your current families. So where are they getting the good word of mouth from? Well, of course, everything that's happening at school. But we know with secondary school students, they don't share always what they're doing at school. So we're the ambassadors for that. We need to share what's going on in the classroom. So you need to know your audience and which platform they're on. Student content is king. It'll always outdo anything else that you put up on there. Know when to post. So for us, we're finding it best at about 7:30, 8 o'clock at night is the best time for us to post. That's when we're getting the most engagement. But Facebook will tell you that in the back end of Facebook. It'll actually tell you when the best time is to post. Keep building your brand and your style. And you don't need to be on every platform. We've expanded over time, but if you started with Facebook and Instagram, that would be a really, really good start. And then you can evolve from there if you need to.
Thank you, Michael. That's fantastic. I know we've got a couple of questions from the floor here, Anthony and Brendan, but just some chat about the use of hashtags. Brendan, any thoughts around, unlocking the secrets around, the whole hashtag phenomena and, should I, shouldn't, how many should I put in, hashtag, give us some pearls of wisdom around the use of hashtags.
Yeah, I actually would love to hear Michael's thoughts on this, but quite frankly, I don't even care anymore about hashtags. And I'll tell you, that's only because we try to do all these different things with hashtags and we just couldn't crack the code, Greg. And we were finally like, what are we doing? And then a couple years ago, couple, I guess, we tried to create a hashtag that was for school. Like, so that everything we posted, look, I see Michael smiling, everything we posted, try to get the kids to post. And what we figured out was that because it was kind of a top-down thing, that's super uncool for the kids. They didn't touch it. It really had to happen organically from them. So we haven't done that yet. So we really don't even worry about it. Michael, I don't know what you think.
Yeah, absolutely, totally agree. Facebook hashtags never took off, so they're away.
Yeah.
Again, the kids, even though the kids are the ones on Instagram, they're not wanting to follow the school's hashtags. They'll be following their own.
Yeah.
On Twitter, the mentions are better than hashtags. So tagging in, here we're a Catholic school, so I will mention the Catholic Education Melbourne here in Melbourne. So hopefully they give me a retweet. That's really my goal there. And that's that Twitter thing about really just promoting yourself amongst other Catholic schools. It's not really your current community that's following you on Twitter. So yeah, I think hashtags are out. We still hashtag Loyola and Loyola College on Insta and Twitter, just maybe to get some traction with other Jesuit schools, because Loyola is a term that is well known amongst Jesuit schools. So you might get a little bit of, Loyola College in the US, for example. Loyola High in New York City is one of our sister schools. They might follow you along, but really I think they're dead a little bit for schools anyway.
Yeah, I think, Anthony, your thoughts around this space. I know you're very, very much a man of, just keep the language genuine, organic conversations.
Yeah, I agree with what both Brendan and Michael are saying. I think you got to be honest and you got to be realistic. And what people are pretty quick to see through the veil, so to speak. So if you're honest in your content, that's what matters. Like Brendan was talking about content marketing, and if you provide content that is truly informative, then the rest will come. It is sort of the field of dreams. Like if you do build it with the right philosophy in mind, traffic will come. So there's a great philosophy about magnetic marketing and this idea of permission marketing with Seth Godin. And there's one other guy I'm struggling to give the credit where credit is due on the magnetic marketing title. It'll come to me probably after this webinar, but it's all about providing content in a way that's educational. And if people want to sign up to get it, they will come to you. They put their hand up and then they'll come to you. And families are the same. They're just trying to find a place where they can send their kids to get educated, and it's tough right now with COVID. And so this is when that content is king, I think. And I believe I don't worry about the hashtag so much. I think about the purity of the content. So the frequency of publishing and pushing it out on social media. So if you do publish a blog post, and if schools don't have a blog, then go set up a Medium. If you don't know what Medium is, just go to medium.com, sign up for a free channel, set up your own story, and drive them to your site. It doesn't matter. It's about creating this great content. And then I believe that the traffic will come if you do it on a regular basis. Well,
I'm very conscious of the time. We've got a couple of few minutes. I hope everyone could just stay on for another few minutes because there's a couple of special offers coming. One question we did have from several people have popped in emails to me and pre-webinars, a couple of apologies who couldn't make it. This webinar is recorded and it will be live on the Catholic Schools Guide website about mid next week after we've done a bit of tidy ups and so forth, top and tailed, etc. And I know that Brennan and Michael are more than happy to share PDFs of their slide decks. We can make those available through the website as well. I wanted to obviously formally thank everybody. I just wanted to share my screen, if I may, for a moment, folks, and we'll just come back to here and we'll just get a couple of, is that being shared, Anthony? Can you see that?
Not yet. Well I'm optimistic, Greg. Not yet.
Here we go. How's that?
Q&A. We are here. We're ready.
I just got to get some Zoom. Well, we've had some Q&A. I'm just wondering if there's any more questions off the floor. If anyone's got any final questions before we put up a couple of special offers, Anthony. No more questions. Anything there coming in, Michael? Can you see anything?
I see a couple of Q&As. I don't know if you've grabbed them already, Greg, but
I think we might have grabbed those two already. But I'll just go on to the special offers for again. Thanks to Inquiry Tracker today for all of your help and assistance, Anthony, and bringing Brennan and Michael to this great panel. I'm very, very appreciative. One more thing. Now, the recording of the website's up next week. The next forum will be in Term 1 2020. We're looking for great topics. So if you've got an idea for a topic, here's our last waterfall, Anthony. If you've got an idea for a topic for the forum, and if you'd like to even present at the forum, and Michael O'Keefe is a great example of this. He said, hey, Greg, I'd love to be a presenter. And of course, he put his hand up and he stepped forward, and I'm sure you'll agree was a great presenter today. If you've got an idea for a topic for the forum, why don't you shoot it on the chat message just right now to us, and want to, we can grab that idea. Otherwise, be safe, stay well. One of our team will be in touch with you over the next couple of weeks if you're interested in Catholic Schools Guide. And of course, if you wanted to speak to Anthony about Inquiry Tracker, please do. I'm going to come back and thank our panel one more time before we finish up and say thank you. There's a few chat messages coming in. I think there's probably a few thoughts and bubbles there, Anthony. I'm not sure. I haven't reviewed them yet. But how about everybody saying a big thank you to Brennan, Michael and Anthony. If you could send them a best wishes message, that'd be lovely. On behalf of Catholic Schools Guide, big thanks, boys.
Thanks, Greg. Awesome job, mate. Awesome, Brendan, Michael. Great.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks very much.
Thanks very much.
Brendan might have to head off to a well-earned rest now. It's about midnight there, isn't it, Brendan?
It's getting close. I might have my bourbon now, Greg. I might be good. Thank you, guys. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Brendan. Thanks, Michael. Thanks, Greg. See you later. Bye.